All right. Hey, everybody. We're here doing kind of a quick impromptu call about the Unified QR Code project. Just to give a little bit of background on that, if you're watching this and haven't been following along, we've got a new channel in the Bitcoin Design Slack. We've just hashtag unified QR code. And the topic we're discussing is basically using BIP21 payment URIs to create a QR code that could work for both on-chain and Lightning. So a Lightning wallet can scan it, get the invoice data it needs, but also an older on-chain wallet could scan it, get the on-chain address it needs. And so it's kind of backwards compatible and forwards compatible. Um, and we've been working on a micro site to try and discuss this topic and gain support for this among other wallets in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Um, so I'm going to just share my screen here. Got a bunch of stuff queued up in my browser window. So I whipped up a kind of impromptu agenda and then tried to edit it and I guess screwed up my markdown. No, I just didn't finish it. That's what it is. Let me finish what I was typing before people started joining the call. Okay, there we go. So kind of on the agenda for today's call is I just wanted to quickly talk about some things regarding the actual microsite that I've been building with help from Future Paul and Bosch and a lot of other people in the Slack channel. But we can kind of get through that real quickly. And then I wanted to like really talk about like testing, the actual testing of wallets, which would be kind of the meat of this project. So if you haven't seen it yet, me and Future Paul have been kind of iterating on some stuff in a GitHub repository, and I've got it on just hooked up to Netlify right now to do some deploys. So we don't have a domain name yet, but I will paste this into the chat if anybody wants to see it. But so this is kind of adapted from our Figma design. And it just kind of like lays out the vision. It lays out like what the problem is that we're trying to solve right here, trying to prevent this kind of confusion and error messages that the user doesn't understand, trying to unify this all into a single QR code, and then provide some kind of developer samples right here. So this is basically, this is it. This is what the QR code would look like. This has got all the on-chain and Lightning data that's needed kind of crammed in there. And then there's kind of some other samples for reference, like what it might look like in the future if Bolt 12 was adopted. And then these are just like, the more traditional QR codes that we usually use. Try to lay out the why this is a good solution, the kind of flow that a wallet might go through in determining how to parse the QR code, and then some kind of responses to common questions and concerns. And then down here, we've got this wallet compatibility table, and it just shows like all the wallets that support it at the moment. So we're trying to test for like, can a wallet scan the QR code and like actually read what's in it? And then furthermore, if it does scan the QR code, does it actually recognize the Lightning component? And then could a wallet actually do some wallets actually create these special QR codes, which is kind of a nice to have, but currently I don't think anybody has that, but just trying to document it nonetheless. And then also we can open up issues to try and create support. So like Bosch opened an issue with Zeus, and we've got a link to that issue right now. And then just got some link to the GitHub page for the site and Slack channel. That's what I got. So like kind of what I'm looking for like right now, just in terms of website feedback, is a couple things. I wanted to talk about like the title I've chosen for it and also a domain. And I think Palamix had some feedback for me here about the table section. So I thought I'd just go ahead and pass it over to him so that he could express whatever he wants to about that.
Yeah, only if I wasn't muted and started talking. So, yeah, I really like what you did here with the website and what you guys created. It tells an awesome story. I think that's very important for signaling this kind of support. is for both end users and developers to understand why this is important. I think the website does a great job communicating that. Just a minor suggestions that I had is how do we involve community into testing these things? Because yeah, table is awesome, but it doesn't tell me what I need to do as a visitor here and how I can help and how I can get involved. And yeah, that's what I was just missing. Like, it tells an awesome story and ends with basically no call to action for me as a regular user or a developer. So either a call to action for developers to implement it, maybe guides how they can implement it, and also for the end users, okay, here is a simple QR. Pull out your wallet. Step 3, scan it. Step 4, what happens? Okay, nothing happens. File an issue. If it's all good, let us know in the Slack or let us know on GitHub, and then we'll update it and maybe add a little bit of credits. Basically, who tested which wallet can also be helpful for people being featured in a way on the website. That's what we did with BIP. Back32 support with BTC Pay server once we were signaling for uppercase batch 32. So yeah, just give people a little bit of credit, give them clear instruction on what is it that needs to be done specifically, and then just tell developers what they need to do in order to implement it, and make sure that we keep a track of all of that somewhere, either on GitHub or Slack or wherever it is preferred. That's all I had to say. Good job.
All right, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, that makes sense about providing the instructions. I think the instructions as far as testing were something I was going to talk about on this call, but we should also, you're right, we should have that on the website. So um, I put some like data, like some loose instructions about testing here, just kind of train of thought stuff in the agenda for today, which I'll paste in the chat. And I have another document that's got some as well. So it might be worth it if I kind of polish up that language some and repurpose that to put on the website. There could be something here around the wallet support table that kind of, yeah, a call to action to ask you to test your favorite wallet or your favorite exchange or something to that effect. And as far as the developer implementation, yeah, I agree with that. It would be good to put some reference material for that. I think one thing off the top of my head is I think John's has a repository that has like I think it's in JavaScript, but it's like a test vector um, for BIP21 Lightning QR codes. So that might be something that we could link to as a possible resource. And if there's other resources, libraries for specific languages, then we could also drop those links too into kind of like a developer reference section on the site. So that makes sense. So yeah, I'm happy to add all of that content. In terms of other things I wanted to talk about regarding the website is just like the title of the website. I just wanted to get kind of a temperature check on that. Like my thinking was like when we're speaking to a developer audience about this, we obviously need to specify that we're talking about a BIP21 UR code with an optional Lightning parameter appended to it, right? But when we talk about putting this in front of users, I kind of don't want to call it a BIP21 QR code. I want to call it something that's just easier to understand. And the thing that, the first idea that popped in my mind was just calling it a Bitcoin payment request, because it seems like that the title would encapsulate it. It's a payment request. It works for Bitcoin, and Lightning is just a clever way of using Bitcoin. So it's all just kind of, it's a Bitcoin payment request. And the BIP21 URI can just kind of include whatever data you want to put in there. So, instead of somebody getting a message that says, please scan a Lightning invoice, I want it to say like, please scan a Bitcoin payment request or something like that. So I just was curious if anybody had any opinions on the title I've selected for the site.
Maybe payment request is so generic that any like invoice could be called a payment request by mistake and not speaks specifically about this unified QR thing.
Could be, like, I guess I would consider, yeah, it's something we're struggling with when we work on the Bitcoin design guide, coming up with good names for all these things. because like, I mean, we've had like so much discussion on the like some of the PRs here around like payment request formats and stuff like that, and like what we're supposed to call these different things. And um, you know, like, can we, if we have like 6 different payment request formats, can we all like call them a generic thing? And I think in this PR, Christoph has resorted to just kind of calling them addresses, um, which I kind of was opposed to at first, but then began to agree with, because I was like, oh yeah, some of these reusable payment request formats, like they're all kind of like an address, if you think about it in a non-technical sense. So yeah, I don't know.
So is this, so the title you have here is you was formulating it in the case that you're speaking to a user of a wallet or a developer? Because if it's yeah, sorry, go on.
A user, to answer your question.
Okay, and I don't know, something, I'm just trying to read it out to myself. The Bitcoin payment request, when like you just described, it's made up of quite a few, right? Lightning invoice 11, 12, LN Euro stuff maybe as well at some point in the future. I don't know, but what about just Bitcoin payment requests plural? Is that weird though?
That could be it.
Instead of the
That could be it. Yeah.
Also agree that we can remove the and it won't make a difference.
Oh, all-in-one Bitcoin QR. I like that. Probably nice. It's just I'm thinking like for some, Stephen, is it this for example, for a user that is quite familiar with Lightning, or you were thinking more like general population?
Well, ultimately, this would be for people who aren't that familiar with Bitcoin or Lightning.
Yeah. Okay. It's just I feel like payment request is not that used like for the general population. Like I don't remember like in my daily life where a company sent me a payment request. In a sense, they sent me an invoice.
Yeah. I was gonna agree with what Millie said. Actually, I'm just on my app. I'm on my Monzo app now, and I'm looking at some of the terminology for payments. Yeah, and they have a separate payments tab, which is part of the bottom navigation, and then they have separate navigation items where they just say pay someone, and it's like via bank transfer, international transfer, and you can select individual contacts. They've got request money, ask someone for money you're owed, and it gives you the ability to share a link. They'll click on it and basically be able to withdraw money. Or they've got move money, which is like if you have 2 types of Monzo account, a personal and a business, you can move money between those 2 accounts. So they don't use they don't use the term like payment requests, but they do say money. Like they do use the term money quite a lot. Now, obviously, for us, it's probably a bit of a stretch to go that far, but that's just an example of like what is in like the Monzo app, for instance.
Well, I agree with most of that. Like, I wouldn't want a situation where it's like, the user interface of the wallet suddenly has this obtuse language. Like, it should really just be like the button should say send to Bitcoin, or it should just say send, or it should just say receive Bitcoin, something like that, right? So very similar to Monzo app. Like, it just pay somebody Bitcoin, request Bitcoin, that kind of stuff. But I mainly
it's interesting about, but you don't say send. So like if you was going to send someone US dollars, like one of your friends US dollars, you would never say like I'm gonna send you $10 US, would you? Or would you say I'm gonna send you some money? Like I don't know, like this. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I would love the money thing too. It's like, I think that's one of those things where like, is the world ready for it? Because I think all of us are like, yeah, Bitcoin's the best money. But so of course, send money should mean to us, it should mean send Bitcoin. But you know, in terms of like the general public, I'm not sure if everybody's ready to treat those two words synonymously yet, but I would be on board with that one day, I think.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of coming up with a term for it, and that's not, this may be a topic that's so broad that we can't even figure it all out on this call, but I'm mainly thinking about like, you know, when somebody tries to scan something and, you know, comes up with some message that's like, you know, that's not a valid QR code. Like let's say you try to go to a website, for instance, and you know, you try and copy and paste a website into the URL bar here, and you accidentally paste like some gibberish from the Microsoft Word document you are working on. And so then it's got to come up with a message that's like, please enter a valid web address or something to that effect. Well, nowadays they're all search engines, but maybe that's something. I don't know. But you see what I'm saying is like, sometimes if you put in valid data in a field, there's usually some kind of error message that comes up, and I'm trying to, I guess, figure out what to call it at that point. And I don't want to call it, please enter a valid BIP21 QR code. You know, I want to be able to say something friendlier like, please put in a valid Bitcoin payment request or something to that effect. But yeah, I don't know. I might be asking for too much by like trying to get the industry to coalesce around like a, you know, easy user friendly name for one of these QR codes, you know. So I don't know. I mean, maybe for now, maybe what might be good for the near future is to just think about this as just being a title for the website, and just like, what is a good title for this website, and not necessarily try to say that that's like what the QR code is called.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm not convinced like Bitcoin payment request actually needs to appear anywhere in a wallet. I don't have that's my instinct. I don't have much to back it up other than me looking at my my Monzo app, which is not a reflection of like everyone's financial application experience. But I feel like there's a way to break it down where you don't even actually use the term Bitcoin payment request. But I think for the purpose of this site, yeah, either Bitcoin payment requests plural will encapsulate the fact that it's using different types of payment mechanisms could be sufficient, but I don't have strong opinion, to be honest.
I'll play with the title a little bit for the website, post some stuff in the Slack channel, get see how people feel about it, and yeah, to your point, like it could get to the point where like ideally we get to a place where this is so easy to use that people just aren't even encountering like error messages at all. Like, you know, the QR code, if every wallet can read BIP21 and every wallet can generate BIP21, then you never end up in a situation where you know, somebody's scanning something and it's not working. And also like with like some wallets implementing NFC and all that, you could imagine a scenario where you know, the NFC kind of negotiates very quickly which kind of formats the wallet can accept and not accept and all of that. So ideally, yeah, we get to a place where people aren't even thinking about what format it's in. It just works. Okay, cool. Thanks for all the feedback on that. Like I said, I'll continue that discussion a little bit in the Slack channel. Probably turn this into like a plural thing, or just adjust this title in some way. But I'll adjust my thinking to not have that be like the name of the QR code, just be kind of the name of this campaign. And I'd like to kind of move on to the topic of testing. And okay, I'm still connected to Jitsi. I heard a sound effect go on, so I wanted to make sure I call didn't get dropped. Real quick, everybody can see my screen okay, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all good, yeah.
I'm asking because on the last Jitsi call I recorded, there was some awkward thing where like everyone on the call seems to be able to see my screen, but it didn't make it into the recording, which is really weird. And so I guess we'll just see how it goes this time. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about just like the testing for this and how we want to conduct that. So basically the idea is we want to, okay, so when it comes to BIP21 support, the most important thing at the moment is that a wallet can scan a BIP21 QR code. We don't need a situation yet where every wallet can create a BIP21 QR code. We just need it to be able to read it and understand it. So what that means is for an on-chain wallet, like take Casa, it's totally good. It can read a BIP21 QR code, and it's not a Lightning wallet, so it just ignores the Lightning component of it. Moon can scan a BIP21 QR code, and it can recognize the Lightning component, so it's good to go. But then you have situations like here, like Zeus, it can scan the BIP21, but it doesn't recognize the Lightning component. So we have these kind of awkward situations. So the idea is that we want to make sure that any Bitcoin wallet we can think of, non-custodial, custodial, maybe it's an exchange, maybe it's a popular service like Fold or Lolly. I don't even know if those services use QR codes typically, but just any kind of service that would involve a Bitcoin QR code. We want to make sure that it can read the BIP21 QR code, and if it's a Lightning compatible service, that it can recognize the Lightning component of it. So in other words, that means if it's a Lightning wallet, it should have 2 blue check marks. If it's an on-chain wallet like Casa, it should have a blue check mark and an NA. And the reason why this is important is I think Steve shared a link in the Slack channel that was, I think it was a tweet from Moon. And they were basically saying like, yeah, we had this BIP21 idea too, and we wanted to generate BIP21 QR codes of our wallet, but because there wasn't industry-wide support for the scannability of the code, it was too risky and we couldn't do it. So the idea is that the prerequisite to getting this column filled with check marks is getting both of these columns filled with check marks or NAs, right? So that's kind of like I guess like you say, like the first phase of this campaign is just getting as many check marks as we can. Right now we have question marks because I haven't tested any of these wallets or exchanges, and there's probably a lot of wallets and exchanges in existence that aren't on this list. So I'd be looking for help just trying to get this list populated with more stuff and getting it tested. So what does testing it look like? So basically all you got to do is just open up a wallet and scan a QR code. So this one right here is totally usable, this BIP21 URI with Bolt 11 invoice. That's the one you need to scan. And this Bolt 12 offer thing is just kind of a cool thing for the developers to think about, but most wallets don't support Bolt 12, so that format is just, don't even bother testing with that format. But so like right now I'm pulling my phone out of my pocket, and I think you probably can't see because I think Jitsi only allows me to share a screen or a video, but I'm opening up a Phoenix wallet and I am hitting the send button, the little scan icon, and I'm scanning the invoice or the QR code on the left, and it comes up with a message for me. It recognizes that it's an invoice for 1,000 sats, and it pulls in the memo and the description, and it does recognize that the invoice is expired as well. So there's that. If I open up another wallet down here on the list, if I open up like Zeus, it's going to give me, it's going to tell me that it's, like I said, it's going to recognize the main on-chain component of it, but it's not going to recognize it as being suitable for a Lightning payment. So that's why it has an X there. So that's the basic idea, is just workflows, just pulling out a phone and testing it. Now, like I said, this invoice up here that's contained within this QR code is expired. So most wallets, like if it comes up with a screen that recognizes the Lightning invoice but tells you that it's expired, that's a sign that it worked, because the Bitcoin on-chain address isn't going to expire. So an expiration notice is actually a sign that it succeeded. If you do feel like you need a QR code that's fresh, that has a non-expired Lightning invoice in there, I did provide some instructions on how to do that. So I have this kind of library here that I made. Well, it's not a library, it's just a little tool, and I'm really just using the Bitcoin JS and a QR code library. But basically, there's like a little npm command that you can run that will help you generate your own QR codes. So I put a link down here to just like some instructions on how to do that. But the basic idea is like, here's this basic template. It's this just simple terminal command. So if you're familiar with even like a really simple web development and you have Node installed, you can do this. So you would put the amount in Bitcoin there, and then you'd put inside the quotes here, like the name of the recipient, the description for the payment. And then you put the Bitcoin address in there, and then you put in the Lightning invoice there. And I'll show like very briefly how this works. I'm gonna share like another screen here. Share screen, and I will share one of my million windows. Yeah, so I have this let's see, that is actually the wrong one. That's another thing called BIP21 that's open on my computer right now. Might have worked this time. Can everybody see the QR code on screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, cool. So basically all it is like, if I just go into a terminal here, like you just download this library from GitHub. It's real simple. And all I'm gonna do is like, I kind of have it already prepared. I'm just gonna copy and paste that thing from that gist and just paste it into the terminal here. But basically I just have a command, it executed automatically, but it said npm run QR. There's my amount. It's basically 1,000 sats. I got my username, I got my description, have my on-chain address, and then a Lightning invoice. And I hit enter, and it generated it. And it spits out like the payment URI. So this is like the text that you see in the examples on the website. And then it also generated this QR code for me right here. The QR code is already up on screen, but like it refreshed it and generated it brand new. So that's how you can generate your own QR codes if you need it. I'm gonna go back to sharing the browser. But like in terms of actually getting this stuff done, hold on, where's my share screen? That was the chat button, my bad. In terms of getting this stuff done, we basically just need to like go down this list and test all these wallets, and also add stuff to this list that I'm not thinking about that needs to be on here. And I mean, there's a couple different ways in terms of like, if you want to participate in testing, obviously just like reach out for help in the Slack channel if you want to ask anything. I've got a spreadsheet here where I started my initial testing. So if you're not like comfortable with Git and code and all that, that's totally cool. You could just test something and just drop your results in here. Like, did it scan the BIP21 code, true or false? Did it recognize the Lightning, true or false, right? You can jot down some notes in there if you need to. If you are more comfortable with GitHub, you could go to the repository for it, which is this one here, BIP21 site. There's just a file here called walletsupport.json. And so you could actually add your wallet here in the JSON file, or you could edit an existing wallet. And so this, and then submit a PR to the repository. And then this is what is going to generate the table that you see at the bottom of the website here. So if you're comfortable with Git, you can just do that directly. And I think to Pavlinex's point about like adding credit or something like that, yeah, I should probably add like an optional kind of field in some of these in this JSON file that would like allow you to like put give a user credit for testing it, something to that effect.
Yeah, it can be verified by or tested by, and then username.
Let's see. That makes sense. Verified by, tested by, and then username. I'm going to change this to and say wallet exchange support. And I'm going to add another tab too that's just going to say like device scannability, because another kind of issue that we have to think about here is which devices are capable of reading these super dense QR codes. So like my iPhone can read it just fine, but if you have an older phone, it might not be able to read it. And so if this is starting to become problematic, we need to log which kind of devices can and can't read these kinds of things. So If you do, I think if you do encounter a problem, I would say just log it here and something like, Android phone model, blah, blah, blah. And then, Android OS cherry banana split, whatever the dessert numbering system that they're using is now, put down the actual number of the operating system and all that. And then just maybe some notes like, took 5 minutes and had to hold at just right angle, or never scanned at all. Camera didn't focus, that kind of stuff. Just kind of, some notes about what you're experiencing, what these QR codes and like how we could reproduce it on that specific device. Let's see, hardware, device name, device operating system, and version number. So that would kind of cover that component of it. I think that's mostly what I can think of in terms of just how to test and the kind of things you should look for when you're testing. Does anybody have any like comments or questions on the topic of testing?
Yeah, you should try to provide like very clear and specific instructions when people test things out. My experience is unless you really tell people like 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, what happens next? And then, yeah, it will get tricky. So try to, visually also present it like, hey, here is the QR code, scan it. Okay, what happened then? Okay, this happened. Then do this, log it here. If nothing, then do this. Like, be very specific and try to provide like very clear instructions for people. We can probably record a video or something if needed, but like 1 minute explanation how people should test if you think that's needed. But yeah, like try to have a QR code in there that they can immediately generate or scan or whatever, and then what they should do and where they should log information should be very, very specific.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think I'm almost wondering if it should just be like a section on the website here. It could be its own page, or it could be just like a section near this table. Because I'm thinking with the pictures, that might be a little bit easier to show than the video. Because then, like sometimes when you're like, I don't know, trying to have like show something on a computer screen and a device at the same time, that can get a little weird. But if we can just like show photo, kind of like a step-by-step instruction. This is what you should see on the phone. This is what you should see on the screen, all that. That makes sense.
And if that doesn't happen, then you need to, do this, report it. And if it does, like also report or things like that. And also for a QR, make sure that you have it right there for people to scan it. Otherwise, if you tell them, well, you need to find like compatible this and that, or generate it from here and then try this, it'll be tricky. But, here is a QR, scan it. Okay, what happened? Which wallet? Okay, it worked. Log it here. Make sure that you know the wallet. Put your username if you want, or leave it blank if you don't want your username. Things like that. So yeah visually explaining like in 3 to 4 steps, I guess, or 5 would do a good job at explaining people how to get involved basically and contribute.
And I think everyone probably knows this on this call already, but it probably wouldn't hurt if I had a big loud message on there that's like, don't actually send Bitcoin to these addresses unless you want to send me some Bitcoin. I don't own these addresses, but I know a friend who knows a friend who owns these addresses. But yeah, because I'm almost kind of wondering if I should just leave the invoice expired. Do you think there's any harm in just leaving the invoice expired? Because a good Lightning wallet, it should actually parse the Lightning invoice regardless of if it's expired or not. So I feel like that's actually like a good safety mechanism if the invoice is expired.
Agreed.
I can't do anything about the on-chain address because those don't expire, but that's just going to have to be a safety thing. Just don't actually hit the send button, people. Because if I do try and change I feel like if I try and change any characters in the on-chain address, it's going to mess with the checksum, and so it's not going to parse it as a valid address because the checksum will be off. And then we're not going to have valid results because if it fails to read it, we're not going to be sure if it failed to parse the BIP21 or if it failed to parse the on-chain address. So I feel like I should just leave the on-chain address as is.
I mean, it's fine to take, like, I doubt people will donate anything, but if they do, you can just, forward it to a charity of your choice, or just keep it as a maintenance cost of the website and things like that. I wouldn't be worried about that. Just make sure that we have proper expiration if needed, or whatever is needed, that this is properly tested. Like, don't worry about minor things like, people sending Bitcoin. I doubt people will send it, but yeah, just
I'll just use this QR code then. I can reference the same QR code and put it in a help section, and just people can just use that as their test case. See, did I hear like a hand raise or something? Oh, that was like a thumbs up emoji. Cool.
Stephen, just with the testing, it could be interesting to actually put down on the notes on what actually has come up on the screen, because just I'm looking at two different wallets here. And with Moon Wallet, it does show that it has expired, but with Wallet of Satoshi, it doesn't show this. It doesn't show that it has expired. So it's just could be an interesting just design thing to see. What wallets are showing.
Oh, Wallet of Satoshi doesn't tell you the invoice has expired.
No, I can't hit send, or I can hit pay. So
you said you can't hit pay?
I can. Well, there's a green button that says pay, so I don't know what happens if I hit it, but.
So I think if you hit it, I'm curious if it's going to come up with a message that tells you that it's expired or not, because it should, I would hope. Like that's actually kind of alarming that it doesn't tell you the invoice is expired. Oh, actually, no, my bad. I think no, if you scanned the one directly from the website there, that one should be expired. That one should be like 5 days old. So yeah.
Yeah, there's the same QR code with Moon. It shows up expired, but with Satoshi, it's just showing pay or cancel.
Hey, you've tested Wallet Satoshi. That means that you can you can be our test case, and you can update the spreadsheet or the GitHub page.
I'll do that.
And there is a note page. Yeah, so you're right. That's a good call on the notes. We do have, where is that code? Yeah, we do actually have a place for like description and notes in here. I guess we don't have those showing up on the website yet. So I guess I should think about the best way to display those notes here. I guess I could just add another table column or something for that. It's the easiest thing that jumps to mind, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't even know if you have to show it on the website, Stephen. It was just interesting for research. It's just interesting information. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. If you have any notes or comments, definitely either put them in the JSON here, or put them in the spreadsheet here, so that others can see them. I think that's great. I started jotting down a little bit of stuff while I was doing my own testing as well.
Cool.
Okay, so I have my own little punch list here. I need to get a little how to test section, how to get involved, kind of call to action thing up there with some really clear, easy steps for testing and engaging. That seems like my big task on this one, and then just kind of continuing the conversation about the name of it. Thinking about, when we could spend like, I don't know, get this name kind of thing sorted out in 24 hours or so, I'll snag a domain name for us, and, we can get it live and just keep iterating.
Sounds good, man. I like what you were going with the payment request bit, but that I also don't know enough about it yet, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were on the call when we were discussing it earlier, but it's just kind of trying to figure out if that's a title we want to run with, if we want to keep it plural or not. Still kind of figuring it out. I think we're not going to be able to find some kind of like industry-wide cute term for a QR code in the next 24 hours, and debatable if we even need a like user-friendly term for that.
Yeah.
Keep talking about it.
Cool.
Well, awesome. Does anybody else have any other like questions just in general about this topic? Going off script here, just anything anybody wants to talk about for this project?
Just on the name as well, could be good to update the, if you do change it
Mhm.
or decide on it, to change the Slack name to whatever you change it to, because it's unified QR code. Or is that?
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. Yeah, just to give it a good title. I think when I made that channel, I wasn't sure if I'd actually had the title for this yet or not. Yeah, it's interesting. Just kind of, I was thinking about too. I think I was talking about this on Twitter Spaces a little bit too. We have this whole problem just with like this proliferation of payment formats, and it almost seems to me like um, stuff like the like proprietary formats. Even though we want everyone using non-custodial Bitcoin, but I mean, even in the short term, that these kind of like centralized services that have their own proprietary formats that really kind of mess people up could feasibly be included in this data. So I could imagine a situation where it's like and Lightning and Chivo and Bitcoin Beach, whatever. Um, there could be these kind of proprietary intra-ledger transfer things as well, and that would even greatly simplify the user experience. So it's like I almost want to think about it like the term with like unified QR code, I guess was like the first thing that popped in my mind when I made the Slack channel. But um, I almost just like want to think about it like in the future as just not being like we're uniting two things, but that we're just creating kind of like a format that allows the wallet to pick whatever information that it needs to, route a payment effectively. But yeah, cool. I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. Anything else? Oh, we got a comment in the chat here. Thumbs up emoji, smile emoji, another smile emoji. All right, cool. Glad that so many people are happy today. Anything else you guys want to talk about on this?
For me, no. Like I'll take the time to read again, like the website and all that kind of stuff. And if I have a question, I'll post it on Slack.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap this call up then. Thanks everybody for taking the time to give me feedback on what we're working on here. And thanks everyone who's interested in testing. And we will continue the conversation in the Slack channel.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks everybody. See ya.